All right, ladies and gentlemen, security incident response, very interesting, especially when it happens on a global level. And Gadi Evron is going to talk about that. Please give him a warm welcome. Thank you.
Good morning. First, thank you very much for skipping the long and boring introduction. So first, before anybody develops any expectations, this talk is not going to be technical. I always say that on non-technical talks. So please, if you like, leave. Second, some of you may have been to my Estonia information warfare talk. You guys to stand up and say, what are you talking about? Why are you doing this? Etc. So to go through what we're going to talk about, it's going to include everything from, hey, there is a worm spreading. Is somebody doing something about this and why? All the way to, there is a network. It's called the Trevor Intercage. It's an ISP. It's making money. It's a private enterprise. And some people on the internet decide to shut it off? Who are you people to tell a network, a business to just go offline because they're not dealing with their abuse complaints? So this talk relies on you, which is not something very good to say. Now let's get started. So name of the talk, just Estonia and Georgia. Why just Estonia and Georgia? Because everybody likes to talk about it the past 2 years. Somebody defaces a web page in Lithuania, actually 300, everybody in the press jumps up and says, information warfare! Or not, internal issues inside Lithuania. Georgia happens. Whatever actually happened in Georgia, immediately people jump up and say, information warfare, it's the latest buzzword. But Estonia and Georgia got to our attention because they got to the political level. President Bush, the United Nations, NATO, everybody started talking about it. But these incidents happen every day on the internet, and this is where I'm going to start. So, global scale incident response and responders. So, stating the obvious, unfortunately, the internet is international, it is global. Sounds pretty straightforward. It's a network. It's across borders. We are now in Europe. I'm from Israel. But it is global, and that is the second most important thing I learned, most important lesson I learned from the Estonian incident, the Estonian war, if you like. Because even if you had such a thing as 100% security, and whenever I hear 100% security, I just laugh out loud, you would still be vulnerable. Because of course, the obvious thing, somebody has a computer in Korea, and that computer is attacking you. That computer holds information you own. What are you going to do about it? How are you going to do about it? Who are you going to talk to if you even understand the language and manage to get to anybody? The internet is global, and to answer these incidents, we have to understand that. What it actually comes down to, in fact, is finding the right people to drink beer with all over the world. Whatever people may tell you about trust relationships and vetting environments and super secret mailing lists, we actually have an acronym for that. Yet another super secret mailing list, or just look at the letters. How are you going to handle that? And that's the first obvious part. But who does this? Who are these people who keep this global thing alive? So first off, we have the operators. They run the networks. They're all the businesses, the other types of mini or macro or micro environments and societies and social structures on the internet. But who are these people who go and say, this particular IP address shouldn't be there? This particular computer shouldn't be there. That particular client of yours should be disconnected. You should be losing money right now in order for us to be safer. Just consider an abuse department. Your ISP, if they're one of the good guys, is paying 1 to 3 people, in case they're small to medium-sized ISP, they're paying them actual money all year long just to lose money, to disconnect clients. Consider that for a second. But who are the people who go around and say, you ISP over there, you have the botnet command and control server. You ISP over there, you're holding the drop zone for all the credit card information that these botnets have stolen. You registrar over there. Who are all these people who talk to these guys, these companies, these individuals, these corporations, these non-profits, and get them to work together. And who on this earth gave them the right to be God? Who on this earth gave them the right to do this? And I really don't like the analogy. I really don't like the analogy. But when on Nanog, one of the most useless and yet useful mailing lists around, which is for network operators, people a few years ago would say, don't be the internet's firewall. Your job is to deliver traffic. Net neutrality business, right? So if today you decide to filter something on the internet, it's a slippery slope, a logical fallacy of sorts. It's a slippery slope because what are you going to filter next? Copyrighted material? When it comes down to it, the people who actually respond to incidents online, I have an extra dot over there, oops. The people who actually respond online don't care. Some of us do, it's been a while now, we've had a chance to get a little bit more organized, to think a little bit in theory rather than action. We just want to keep the internet alive. We care about that. We have a lot of motives, we have a lot of agendas. Some people care because it's their job. And once their job is over, they move to the next position. They don't care about analyzing malware anymore. They don't care about stopping IP addresses from connecting to other networks. Other people see that their life goal, their ambition. A lot of different agendas, and all these people, like you and me, unrelated to their actual job, unrelated to what they get paid for, go online, flame on mailing lists, and discuss how they should save the internet tomorrow. And the only way they do this, which is a discussion we will not go into today, is by whack-a-mole, killing fires. If we see a command and control server over there, or a spam source over there, let's kill it. By kill, I mean legal takedown. You inform the responsible authority of the incident with attached proof they can verify on their own. So you kill it, and then it pops up somewhere else. What have you done? Wasted a little bit of time, perhaps made it a little bit difficult for the bad guys, criminals, as I like to call them, not miscreants or bad guys. But then they learn, they evolve, they develop new technologies, new methods, new operations, so that by the time you kill a command and control server, they're already elsewhere, if they weren't completely redundant before. Are we just wasting our time? And again, who gave the power to just a group of people, unrelated, unaffiliated, to, on a very limited scale, that is true, control the internet? And this note for just the people in the audience that are related to this, a joke. Paul Vixie runs the internet, just so we're clear. I hear about 10 people laughing, so it's good. Now, how far can we go? I really hate the word vigilante. Vigilante should mean neighborhood watch. People who go and do what they should do. It has a very bad connotation. Neighborhood watch means we have a crack house in the neighborhood, we can point it out and say, we don't want that here. Vigilante, as we understand it today in society, means you get a club or a gun and you go and take care of business yourself. The question is, and this is very, very shaky ground I'm going to touch on here, say we were vigilantes. Say we did decide to take care of business on our own. There are no other authorities out there. There is nobody else out there to take care of the internet as a whole. Nobody gets paid to take care of the internet as a whole. Actually, somebody probably does, but they can't. Somebody in the United States government probably gets a fat paycheck to tell them we can't fix the internet. Or let's create offensive weaponry to create deterrence on the internet so that we can defend ourselves by destroying it or something like that. I don't know. So I don't like that term. And stakeholders. Intentional Buffy typo. Vampire Slayer. Other stakeholders, there are companies with actual inherent interest in keeping the internet alive. Consider all the companies out there, all the organizations out there. I'm not talking about countries, I'm not talking about you. With your daily lives, if you're disconnected from the internet because somebody DDoSed the network here, which is important by itself, consider eBay, not to pick on eBay. Consider the banking system, consider Cisco, consider Microsoft. A lot of people have a very serious vested interest in this, from their own perspective. So, who we face? It's a lot of noise, just background noise. I keep comparing it to background noise because while it's huge, while millions of people are losing their credentials, their banking credentials, their credit cards every day, which we don't really hear about, it's background noise. Because I can still download porn, I can still argue on my favorite forums who the best Starship captain was, Kirk, right? Picard. Let's hear it for Kirk. Who here likes Kirk? Come on. As long as you don't say Janeway. Come on. So it's background noise, but the problem is the background noise keeps increasing and increasing and increasing and increasing. And if I need to leave my security perspective aside, just take a step back from being a security guy. I don't care. As long as this background noise is maintained, but the internet is still alive, users can still download porn, can still access their bank, it's fine by me. Of course it's not, but let's say that it was. Fighting back, holding back the tide, all these things don't really hold water anymore. And looking at the financial crisis, which I really don't want to use as a very strong analogy, people have been talking about the financial crisis, about the credit in the States, about all these subprime issue. And they've been talking about it for how long? And now suddenly there is a financial crisis, nobody knows where it came from. This crisis, while I'm very careful not to compare it to the financial crisis, it's out there. The internet is not a safe place, another obvious statement, another truism, if you like. How do we stay alive on it? And more importantly, who makes sure we stay alive? And if you get, you need a mic. You'll be talking about, I'm repeating.
Okay. You were talking about that every individual should take...
You should just wait for the microphone.
So thanks a lot. You were talking about that every individual should use the possibility to surveillance the internet by itself for a small part and take the law...
I didn't say that.
And take the law...
You said that.
Okay, might be. Anyway, wouldn't it be the right and the need of, for example, a government or organization or even some...
Which government?
Individual governments.
The internet, I really like this term. Somebody gave it to me. I can steal it completely. Yeah. I'm talking here. The internet is the only functioning anarchy, or functional anarchy if you like, but please go on.
But you do have organizations, for example, not for the internet, but for the United Nations, which
United Nations, let's go with Interpol for a second. Yeah, One of the biggest problems we have today, forget for a second law enforcement trying to communicate inside their own country. If they want, I can't give you actual examples, although I have them, so I should shut up about it. If law enforcement in one country wants to communicate with law enforcement in another country, it takes up to... Only in child pornography it works well, and then not always. It takes 6 months at a minimum to try and get the point across. And when we talk about the internet, I get phone calls. Other people get phone calls when they say, hey, can you help me out with an IP address? I say, sure, what IP address do you need? Yes, it's from 2005. Sorry, your question is very interesting, but it's not relevant to the talk, so I'm going to be an asshole and tell you not to ask it. So, yeah, but okay, go ahead. You're so nice, you're smiling.
If I may. No, anyway, I think that every nation now for itself does have a problem with the internet. You mentioned the Estonian case, you mentioned Georgia, the United States with tight reins.
You know what, seriously, though, wait with the question. Keep the microphone, wait with it, okay? Let's move. So, what it comes down to is usability, functionality, keeping the internet up. Now, not crying wolf, I'm known for being interpreted as crying wolf. The sun will still rise tomorrow. The world isn't going to die, and yet. What if, right? I like this what if. The internet wasn't here, or a portion thereof wasn't here, it went down. What would we do? We saw in Estonia a future case where they vote online. They're now going to vote with mobile phones, right? What's going to happen? So we know what's going to happen. Die Hard 4.0. Anybody saw the movie? Great movie. Doesn't really mean much, but it has a broad perspective really well. Maybe it's just Estonia. But